Assalamu alaikum. Muhammad's Sunday Lectures, brought to you by the Nation of Islam, Muhammad's Temple Unite. This Sunday's lecture will be brought to you by Brother Minister Haq Muhammad.
In the most holy name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, who came to us, the black man and woman here in America, in the person of Master W.D. Farad Muhammad, and in the name of his divine servant and messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I greet our viewers, our listeners, and all those that could tap into our message today in the greeting words of peace and paradise in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, welcome to our Sunday lectures presented to you by Muhammad's Temple of Islam United. We welcome you. We ask you to call your relatives, call your friends, get everyone that you know to listen to us today. We are bringing to you the life-giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. My name is Brother, I emphasize that, Brother Abdul Haq Muhammad, a member of the Nation of Islam. But before we present our lecture today, we always take this opportunity to ask the blessings of God. And whatever name that you call him, we call him Allah, the all in all. We open up with prayer. So I ask you to join us in the Muslim opening prayer. Surely I have turned myself to thee, O Allah, trying to be upright to he who has originated the heavens and earth, and am not of the polytheists. Surely my prayers, my sacrifice, my life and death are all for Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. No associate has he, and this I am commanded. I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, and there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against all my faults, for none grants protection against faults but thee, or but thou. And guide me unto the best of morals, for none guides unto the best of morals but thou. And turn away from me the evil and indecent morals, for none turn away the evil from me, the evil and decent morals, but thou. O Allah, make Muhammad successful, and the true followers of Muhammad successful, here in the wilderness of North America, as thou did make Abraham and the followers of Abraham successful, for surely thou art praised and magnified. And O Allah, bless Muhammad and the followers of Muhammad here in the wilderness of North America, as thou didst bless Abraham and the followers of Abraham, for surely thou art praised and magnified in thy midst. Ameen. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining us in that Muslim opening prayer. We have a subject today, and as a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we try to make our lectures, our message to you as simple and as plain as possible. This is why when messengers and prophets come to the people, they are raised from among the people, so the people cannot say that they didn't understand. The people cannot say that this was a strange message This was someone that we could not relate to, that he spoke another language. So we make the teachings as simple and as plain as possible, for there will be no excuse for you to say, we didn't understand. And this is why Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, raised up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, one from among us, who was raised in the southern state of Georgia, who experienced the lifestyle that many of us could relate to. But God chose him to put that message in him to give to us out of his love and mercy for the black man and woman. Our lecture today is entitled, It's Black Nation Time. I repeat that again. It's Black Nation Time. And we will get into that in a few minutes, because I know you're saying, what do you mean Black Nation Time? But as always, I like to just take a few minutes, brothers and sisters, to discuss the health of the black community. If you look at the black people, if you look at black children, they are so energetic. If you look at us as a people when we come to physical birth, you look at us on the basketball court, you look at us on the football fields, you look at us in track and field, you look at us in all the physical sports, you would say that these people are very healthy. They are beyond expectations. We're like superhuman beings. But now today in 2024, we're dying. We are dying 50 years old, 60 years old, sometimes 40 years old. And you would say that appears to be a contradiction in our life. If we are so energetic, we look so good, and you know, there's a saying among us, black don't crack. But the way things are now, black is cracking because we're dying. And 99% of the result of our death comes from what we eat or what we are putting into our bodies that are foreign to our bodies. This is why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us a dietary law and 2 books called How to Eat to Live. See, when God sends messengers and prophets and warners and different sages to the people, they just don't come with a message of spiritual development, but they touched every part of our lifestyle, politically, socially, economically, culturally, whatever the circumstances may be. That messenger, that prophet deals with every aspect of our life. So Jesus said in the book of John, 10th chapter, 10th verse, he said, I come to thee that thee may have life, but have it more abundant. The operative word here is life. He said, I come to give you, I come that you might. Now the word might, that has a pre-condition, that you might have life. That means that if you follow the dictates, if you follow the policies of what I'm teaching you, you will be able to have life and have it abundantly. Abundantly means not just in your social life, not in your spiritual life, but in every aspect of your life. Okay? There's a prerequisite to God coming to us and giving us his life-giving teachings through his messenger the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But today, brothers and sisters, we're not getting the abundance of life. See, the greatest gift that God has given us is our life. And as I always say, it's not a pair of Jordan sneakers. It's not jewelry that we wear. It's not the big cars that we drive or the luxurious homes. It is our life. This temple is sacred, and we have to see it as a sacred instrument. Just bear with me, brothers and sisters. Be patient. Because of the prerequisite of the messengers and prophets coming to give you life or give it to you abundantly, they come with something that makes you understand that you have to do certain things. This is why when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in 1931 met and sat with with Master Farad Muhammad, that he recognized as God in person, he said to him, he said, if you get your people to listen to what I'm saying and take that message, he said they will have luxury. They will have money, good homes, and friendship in all walks of life. But there's a precondition. He said, if you would listen and embrace those teachings that I bring to you, you would have all of these things. Brothers and sisters, you cannot have all of those things if you are not ready to preserve your life. What we're eating, what we're drinking, what we're putting into our bodies is death. I live in Brooklyn, New York, born and raised in this city, in New York City. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us to eat right. I'm going to give you a message today, but if you don't listen to anything that I have to say, if you dismiss everything, but I ask you to take the message of how to eat to live seriously, because it will save your life. Because if you can preserve your life, then somewhere down the line, you will realize the greater message given to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Okay? Let's go on. Recently, in the community that I grew up in, it's called Coney Island. Some of you might have heard about it. It's called the Great Amusement Park. But in the last 3 or 4 months, we lost about 6 or 7 young men, all under 60 years old. Some of them died of strokes. Some of them died of diabetes. Some of them died of kidney failure, heart attacks. These are young men, some of which I saw when they were, knew them before they were born. I mean, I didn't know them before they were born, but I knew their parents. But I remember them when they came to birth. See, the foods that you eat are full of all kinds of poisons. And we're not a disciplined people because not only do we eat the wrong food, we eat all day long. It takes 24 hours to digest a meal. But if you're eating all day long, your stomach is constantly working and you cannot properly digest the food. So the body is off course. The number one thing that you need to stay away from, brothers and sisters, is that pork. We can talk about all the other foods, But you got to stop eating pork because it's the most poisonous meat that you can eat. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in his book, How to Eat to Live, said that if you eat meat, at least eat the lamb. The lamb is the cleanest of all those animals, even the chickens and the cows. Because the lamb or the sheep, they clean themselves. But we shouldn't be eating meat at all. We should be vegetarians, really. But we do eat meat. We are dying because we are not properly eating the right foods, and the foods that we do eat are full with poisons. Do you know that when you eat Chick-fil-A, 88% of that chicken that you're eating from Chick-fil-A is full with all kinds of insecticides, pesticides, and all kinds of poisons. So you're not eating the chicken, you're eating chemicals. McDonald's, Burger King, Hardee's. Those sandwiches that you eat are 99% chemicals. So you're not eating the chicken, you're eating chemicals. So let us in 2024 say, I'm going to eat better. I'm going to make an effort to eat better. Eat more fruits and vegetables and drink water, brothers and sisters. I've told you many times in my lectures, I've seen young men in their 30s and 40s when they urinate, because I was a parole officer and had to test their urine for drugs. And drugs is a whole nother issue. We're not going to talk about the drugs that we are consuming. But their bodies, when they urinated, it was as dark as Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, because their kidneys are shot. Understand your body. If you want to live long, if you want to live healthy, then listen to what we have to say as followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And look at me. I know I look good. And I'm in my 70s. Yes. And I see some young men that look older than me. They look like my father. And they ask me all the time. They call me in my community, Brother Ron. He said, Brother Ron, what are you doing that makes you look so young and healthy? He said, you look better than me. And I'm not even near your age. I said, because I eat right according to the dietary law of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I try to think right and do right. That's just a short message on us eating. Okay? All right, our subject, brothers and sisters, is Black Nation time. What do you mean, Black Nation time? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, one of his early lectures, and he put it in an album before we had videotapes, before we had CDs and DVDs. We had the long playing record albums, and we in the nation, and back in the 60s, we used to sell the album. And one of his subjects was the time and what must be done. The time and what must be done. This is Black Nation time. See, if you don't understand the time and the need to understand the time, then you would not be in accord with the dictates and the need of the time that you're in. The word time is the operative word. See, if there's no motion, there's no time. Time is relevant to motion. If you're not in act, if you're not in a state of motion or in state of some form of activity, you're not making time. Time is very, very important. So if you're not conscious of the time and what must be done, then you may not understand, brothers and sisters, that it's time for black people to have their own nation. We believe, one of the books that we believe in is the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran. And in the 103rd chapter of the Holy Quran, it's called Al-Asr, which means in Arabic, the time. And it opens up like this. This is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad pointed us to. And it opens up like this. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. By the time, surely man is in lost, except those who believe and do good and exhort one another to truth and exhort one another to patience. So the first few words here, by the time, putting your mind, directing your mind to an aspect called time. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad always told us to be on time, always told us to consider the time, always told us to know the time and what must be done in that time. And it is a time now for us to establish a black nation. Now, one of the words here said, man is surely not at loss, in loss, which means that he's in a perpetual state of not being aware of what's going on. So when you're lost, you're confused. You're in a state of fear. I remember when I was about 10 or 11 years old, I was with my friends. We were going to Chinatown to buy some fireworks. And during the 4th of July. And I jumped on the wrong train and the doors closed because I live in New York. You know, it's mass transit here. You know, we got trains run 24 hours, buses 24 hours, 7 days a week. But I jumped on the wrong train and it took me, I couldn't get off. It took me to the last stop. Here I am, I'm 10, 11 years old. I get off the train, I'm looking for where I live. I was hundreds of miles from my house. And I was lost. I was afraid. I was traumatized. I was afraid to ask people. I was in a strange environment. I was in total horror of where I was at. In that time, I was lost. Until the end that I was out, maybe about 12 hours I was walking around. I was nowhere near where I lived. Until late that evening, a black woman saw me and said, son, what are you doing out here? Because the sun was going down. And I explained to her, I started crying and explained to her that I was lost. I was out of time. I was confused. And she put me on a train with some young women that directed me to my home. And of course, my mother said, where were you at all day? I said, I was lost. I was crying. She said, boy, go in there and sit down somewhere. But surely man is at loss. By the time. And you have to understand the time. But the Quran is telling us. It said, except those who believe and do good and exhort one another to truth. Another operative word is the truth. The truth of the matter is, it is black Nation Time. It is time for us black people. I'm listening to a lot of the commentaries. I'm listening to black leaders, black commentators. I'm listening to black organizational coordinators. And all of them are talking about integrating, even though they're not using that word, having hope in America. But America is showing us, even in 2024, that they don't want us. There are signs for you if you're patient and understand the truth that is right in front of your face. The very fact, brothers and sisters, they are banning black literature, black history in certain schools in this country. They don't want you to know who you are. They don't want you to have the knowledge of self. They are what they call trying to disenfranchise you from voting. Those are signs for you. They are taking away all the programs that we established and fought for. They are trying to roll those things back. Understand the time. The time dictates what you need to be done. And it's Black Nation time. Okay? So, if you are serious, brothers and sisters, and I want you to be patient with me for a few minutes, we're not going to be too long. We're going to go right directly to the message. It is Black Nation time. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in his great, iconic book entitled Message to the Black Man in America, he asked the question, do we have qualified black men and women to establish a nation or a government? He asked this question. What is the answer? Not only did he ask the question, he qualified his question by giving the most important answer. He said, yes. Listen, he said, yes, we do have qualified black men and women for self-government. See, if you have a nation, you have to have a government by which, or you have a nation, you have to have established a government by which to govern that nation. And government means that you have to have an educational system, a financial system, a cultural system. You have to have all kinds of systems by which to govern yourself in that nation. And he said, yes, we do not have to be equal in knowledge with every nation, but we do have qualified people. Let me go on to read some more what he has to say, and then we'll talk a little bit about what he said. He said, we do have qualified people to operate our own government. He said, look at white people. When they came, regardless of what we say about them, when they came from England to America and they commenced a genocide against the American Indian and killed many of them off. He said, whites who came here to this country, they came seeking self-government equal to England's parliamentary, the lords or the overlords in England. And they came to America and they established a nation. They established a government that's over 200 years old. It's a corrupt government, but they established a government. They got all kind of constitution. They have a constitution. They have a preamble. They have all kind of stuff. It's a government. It's a corrupt government, but it is a government. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we have enough technicians, mathematicians, construction engineers, civil engineers, mechanical engineers. I talked about this before. We had a discussion about this, and we want to continue to have a discussion until you understand the need for a black nation. He said we have mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, physicists, chemists, educators, agriculturalists, navigators, astronauts. We have all of this here. We have everything that's needed to establish a black nation. He said, we can do it. You know what we always concentrating on? I'm listening to our people. Get out the vote. Get out the vote. We got to vote. And as if politics is our only solution and our only means of survival. It is not. You have the Asian community or the Chinese community. You can go in any city in America, there's a Chinatown. And they don't have senators and governors. Some of them, there's a few, but they don't have senators, governors, assemblymen and councilmen and Congress people. But they have a community where they have banks, they have an educational system, and when all of those people that I just named come into office, they go to Chinatown and they ask them, how could we help you? You have Little Italy. You have little, the Italian community, which is called Little Italy. You have the Irish community. You even have communities now in America that are from the African continent. You have up in the New England, you have a lot of Somalians. In DC, you have a whole community of Ethiopians. And they are well respected because they are a nation of their own. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we can establish black people in America, but we're always talking about voting. All right, you pick a candidate. He or she is in office for 4 years or 2 years. If that person does not fulfill the legitimate obligation that they were voted in by the black community, then we have to get that person out. And then you have to have a vote, a petition to get them out, or leave them there until you can find someone else. But in the interim, in that 4 years, you got to leave that person there. So what are we going to do in the 4 years? Ask the question. Ask that to yourself. We're going to, in the interim, we're going to wait till 4 years until we get another person. And in that 4 years, our communities are falling down. In those 4 years, we are not getting the services that's needed. But we can't wait for a politician to solve our problem. We got to solve that problem ourselves. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, why should we wait for the government? Why we should wait for white people? Why do we wait for politicians to solve our problems where we can solve our own problems and do something for ourselves? Then we have to wait for the next election. Some of y'all are waiting for Biden. In this next election to solve your problem. Look at his policies. Look at his positions. Look at his governmental setup and platform. Is it directly responsible to us as a people? You have to study and you have to listen, brothers and sisters. And I'm saying all of this because we love you. That love that we have for you was put into us by our leader and teacher, the messenger of Allah, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, because it was up to us. We will continue to be in disunity. We will continue to kill each other and have no love. He put that in us. But we had to recognize that we were in a state of negative behavior. I listen to the commentators, the black commentators. I listen to the black politicians. None of them are talking about building an independent black nation. And we have, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, all the qualified people to establish a nation. Look at the situation that's currently happening with the Palestinians. To date, the Israelis have murdered and killed more than 25,000 Palestinians. Half of them are children, babies, who cannot fight back. But I guarantee you, after this war is over, those Palestinians will go back and continue to fight and build a nation of their own called Palestine. Even though they're being slaughtered, they will come back at some point in history in the future and begin to reestablish themselves as a nation called Palestine. This is true. But what about us? We have been in America for 400 years. Over 400 years. 465 years, I believe, to be exact. Someone can correct me. We have fought in every war that America has ever waged. Every war. The War of 1812. The Civil War. The Revolutionary War. The Vietnam War. The Korean War. And we'll fight. If they sent us right now to Ukraine, we'll go there. Some of our people. But I'm going to tell my sons and grandchildren, you don't go. But we don't have a nation to fight for. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us we don't have anything to fight for. If we had something to fight for in this country, we would fight. But we don't have nothing to fight for. Let's fight for a black nation of our own. Further in his book, Message to the Black Men in America, on page 226, and brothers and sisters, get this book. This should be in your library. Okay? Message to the Black Man in America. He said, we are the world's greatest people. Ain't that something? The world has looked down on us. You know, when they show videos of us, they show us and our women, you see the housewives. You see those sisters that's on those reality shows, you know, they yelling at each other, cursing at each other, attacking each other. They run that all around the world. They think that's how black women are. They show our brothers walking around with guns, with their pants sagging and dragging. They show us smoking dope and, or they show us singing and dancing. They think that's all we do. They don't see me and you. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we are the world's greatest people. Praise be to Allah. He has love for us. Only a man with love could say that about us. He said, unity under the crescent of Islam is all that is necessary for you and me to become the world's greatest people. The lying and the slavery teachings of the white man's Christianity has crucified our people all over the earth, not only in America. He said, we have all the necessary qualifications to establish a black nation. Mr. Muhammad goes on to say, We do not expect to build, nor do we desire to build a government patterned after the order of the white man's government and race. I want to say that again. If we, which we have the qualified people to do, establish a black nation, we don't want to pattern it after the white man's government, because we can see his government right now is in total confusion. We don't want to have that kind of government. We want to have a government based on freedom, justice, and equality. Yeah, we're going to have some problems. Any nation that is building, that's developing, they're going to have a few problems, just like a child that comes to birth. The child can't walk properly at a certain time, and that child goes from infancy to adolescence until adult. It's same with our nation. So he says, we must accept the true religion of Islam, of Jesus and the prophets, before and after him, before we can be successful in doing anything. Though we set up a nation, we have to have a foundation based on truth and righteousness. And that truth is called Islam. Just bear with me a few more minutes, brothers and sisters. We're coming to our conclusion, but I just want you to listen. See, when a nation comes to birth, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us all of the years that he was among us, that we must establish something for ourselves. The white man called him a separatist, called him a racist, called him a hate teacher, because he was teaching his people to separate from the slave master. And he comes in the lane and the plane of all the prophets. None of the prophets taught us to integrate their people once God commissioned them with the enemy. Jesus said, go not in the way of the Gentile, but go to the lost sheep in the house of Israel. Right there is telling you he's making the distinction on who to be with and who not to be with. Okay? And when, we have some apprehension about going and to a nation of our own. And you got some black people that say, I'm not going nowhere with no bunch of niggers. I'm not going with these fools. That's because you hate yourself. And you don't understand that you can establish a nation. Every people that had ever established a nation had problems in the beginning, in their infancy. But you cannot be afraid. When Moses led the people out of the grips of Pharaoh and brought them to the Red Sea, and the sea parted, and the children of Israel were able to go to the promised land. But there were some of them said, I ain't going like that. You hear black people say, I ain't going nowhere with no bunch of niggas in some land. The children of Israel said the same thing to Moses. We got it good here. Pharaoh given us something to eat. We got a certain place to sleep. And they some of them fought Moses because they didn't want to leave their house of bondage. And some of our people think the same way. They are afraid to establish something of their own. They said, we got it good in America. We got schools. The white man give us food stamps. We go to some of the nice colleges and universities. But in the long run, you will be continued dependent on your oppressor, on your slave master. And Moses had a hard time trying to get the children of Israel to establish a home of their own. And once he got them on the other side, into the promised land, into Jordan, Some of them said, we don't want to be here. We want to go back to Pharaoh because we got to work. Yeah, there got to be some work, brothers and sisters. It has to be some sacrifices in order to establish a home of our own. It is the time and what must be done. And the time is Black Nation time. We're almost finished, brothers and sisters. Recently, here in New York City, in New York State, or the state of New York, which is where I live, the governor, her name is Kathy Hochul, signed a bill to study reparations for Black people in this state. You know, Black people always felt that slavery only existed in the southern states like Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Tennessee. But there was just as much slave activities going on in the north, in New York City, in Connecticut, in New Jersey. Yeah, they had slave plantations. So she signed that bill last month. And a brother that went to college with, Brother James Sanders, is one of the sponsors of the bill. And he's getting some flack about what he is considering in the bill and who he is considering and who he has proposed to be a part of this bill. This bill is only a study. They didn't say they ain't gonna give us nothing. They said this is just a study to see if reparations for Black people are necessary. Now, we don't need no study. We already know that we're due reparation. They promised us 40 acres and a mule under Abraham Lincoln's administration. We don't need no study. But that's an excuse. That's a pacification for us to believe that they are truly sympathetic to our need for reparations. And you know what he said to me? I asked him, I said, Brother James, I said, now she's the governor. Once she's voted out or she's no longer the governor, is that bill binding, which means that it has to be carried over? He said, it's binding. He said, what's not binding, if another administration comes in, another group of state senators, state assembly men and women, they can say, we don't want that study. Throw that in the garbage. It's just a study. And he said that they're going to fight to make sure that the study is not accepted, and we have to fight to make sure that the study is accepted. Now, this can take 5 years, 10 years. They can keep kicking it back. Do you know in California, the governor of California, I think his name is Gavin Newsom, he signed the same bill for a study in California. And you know what that bill is just sitting around and he ain't doing nothing at this point. We accept reparation, but that's not the main solution to our problem. The main solution and the best solution, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, is separation, not reparation. But if they give us the money, we're going to accept it. Of course. But the best solution is to establish a Black nation of our own. We're in a nation, we're a nation within a nation. See, the prophet Ezekiel saw us. He said there's a nation within a nation. There's a will within a will, a people inside another people. That is us, brothers and sisters. God came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. He came to us because we were the lost sheep, or are the lost sheep in the house of Israel. And as long as we depend on white America to take care of all of our needs, then we will never be an independent people. Our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren will forever be in perpetual slavery to this white government. And if this government falls, which it is falling, I don't know when it will completely collapse. And we don't need to worry so much. I mean, we need to be concerned that it's falling and if we'll be caught up in the fall. But one believer came to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and he said, "Dear Holy Apostle, why are we building here in America when America's going to fall?" The Honorable Elijah Muhammad so patiently said to him, he said, "Brother," he said, "when we here, we still got to eat. We still got to live somewhere. We still have to send our children to be educated." He said, "Aren't we going into the hereafter?" He said, "Brother," he said, "the white man will be hereafter long before you die. Just keep building. Just keep working. Just keep fighting for your right to establish a nation of your own." He said, "Dear Holy Apostle," he said, "where is the hereafter?" He said, "You're standing on it. You're standing on the hereafter. Hereafter the white man is gone. Hereafter you become no longer a dope fiend. Hereafter you have no longer become a criminal. Hereafter you no longer depend on the white man." That's the hereafter. The hereafter is not necessarily a place, but a state of being that you create here and now. Praises be to Allah for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It is time for us to establish a black nation of our own. There's a French poet, white man, by the name of Victor Hugo. You might have heard this quote before. He said, "Nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come." There is nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. You cannot push aside an idea whose time has come, and the time has come for us as black people to establish a nation of our own. Look around you. Everything that we have fought for is now being undermined and underdeveloped. They're moving us out of the inner cities in our own community. At one time, they were in the city of California. They had a place called Watts. That's where black people lived. In Harlem, you go to Harlem, New York now. You heard of Harlem. There's more white people in Harlem than there's black people. We have another community in Brooklyn, New York called Bedford-Stuyvesant. They don't even call it Bedford-Stuyvesant no more. They call it Stuyvesant Heights. I live in a community they call Coney Island. They don't even want to call that Coney Island no more. They call it Manhattan Beach. It is forcing us to establish a nation of our own. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us, if you don't fight, if you don't recognize the time to establish a nation of our own, God will force you to do it. And the circumstances that he will put on your behind, he will make us. And he doesn't want to make us. He wants us to do it on our own. But he will set the circumstances to make us do something for us. So we have to pool our resources. Because we have money, brothers and sisters. We just haven't put it together. We have money. I watch black people go and, sometimes I sit on my stoop some days and I watch black. We're going in and out of stores all day long, coming out with cigarettes, beer, hot sauce, potato chips, juices and sodas and chicken wings and fried chicken and French fries and all kind of stuff all day long. 99% of the time we cry about what the white man is doing to us, and we spend 99% of our money with the man that we say that is not treating us right. Well, that's a contradiction. That's not reality. We need an action program. We needed a do-it-yourself program. We need to say, get yourself off your behind program. We need a program in a nation, a black nation of our own. There's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And this is the time for a black nation. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for listening. May Allah bless you with the great light of understanding as I greet you in my conclusion. Assalamu alaikum. Okay. Again, I say, brothers and sisters, thank you for taking time. I hope I haven't offended anyone. I hope you understood what we were saying. It is out of pure love and concern for our people. We love you, but we don't love what you're doing. That's negative. But we say this here in all sincerity. So I want you to join me in the Muslim closing prayer, asking Allah to bless us to continue our work. And after the prayer, you will get a message about how you can become involved, how you can help us, how you can get more information on the teachings of Islam as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So brothers and sisters, please join me. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and Merciful, all praises is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent and Merciful, Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, and Thee alone do we beseech for aid. Guide us along the right path, along the path of those who Thou hast bestowed favors, but not along the path of those whom Thy wrath is brought down, nor along those who go astray after they've heard Thy teachings. Say ye, Allah is one God. Allah is He who nothing is independent of, but upon whom we all depend. He neither begets not, nor is begotten, and there is none like Him. And I bear witness that none deserve to be praised or worshipped besides Allah, who came to us, the black man and woman of America, in the person of Master W.D. Farad Muhammad, and in the name of his divine servant and messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Amen. Again, thank you, brothers and sisters, for viewing and listening, and may Allah bless us all with life, light, and understanding. Assalamu alaikum.
If you believe what you heard taught today on Islam is true, and you would like to learn more, or you are ready to accept and reclaim your own, contact the Lost Foundation of Islam Muhammad's Temple United at 623-312-4352. Again, that's 623-312-4352. We thank you for joining us today, and we ask that you return next Sunday and invite your family and friends. We ask your support so that we may continue to get the truth out to our people. You may contribute by donating to our Cash App at $MT United. That's $MT United.
The Lost and Found Nation of Islam, Muhammad's Temple United, is seeking to unite with all of the believers in temples across the country. If you are a member or a part of a temple, or if you have a temple, contact us and let us unite one nation under one way of life, Islam as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Don't see your city or state? Let's change that. Let's unite and put your temple on the map of unity. Let us not come together in unity in belief only, but let us come together and unify as one in practice. The time is now, black man and woman. Your nation awaits you. Assalamu alaikum.